Greetings, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, members of the public. This is Brenda Lopez, Interim Housing Director for the Oxnard Housing Authority, and this item is regarding the 5-year Public Housing Agency PHA Plan, the Annual PHA Plan Capital Fund Program, 5-year Action Plan, and the Annual Capital Fund Budget. I will first start with a brief overview. The 5-year PHA and Annual Agency Plan and the Annual PHA Plan provide a description of the Housing Authority's basic regulations, requirements, and operational program policies. The Annual PHA Plan outlines any revisions, new activities, and progress towards the PHA's goals and objectives. The proposed 5-year PHA Plan covers fiscal years 2025 through 2029. For the Oxnard Housing Authority, the fiscal year timeframe is July 1st, 25 through June 30th, 2030. These plans are required by the Department of Housing and Urban Development under 24 CFR Part 903. The plans also serve as an application for capital fund grants, which provide the funding for capital improvements for the public housing units owned by the Public Housing Authority. These plans are due to the Department of Housing and Urban Development at least 75 days prior to the start of the fiscal year, in this case, prior to July 1st of each year. The Housing Choice Voucher, which is commonly known as Section 8, and the Public Housing Program Policy Plans were updated to bring the agency into compliance with the Housing Opportunity Through Modernization Act, also known as HOPMA, of 2016. This act was signed into law on July 29th of 2016. The Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan and the Continued Occupancy Plan were updated to comply with the regulations. HOPMA requires some changes to be implemented immediately, while others require further action from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The Oxnard Housing Authority has adopted its policy plans to assist staff in navigating through the policy changes and through the transition period. The Department of Housing and Urban Development transitioned from the Housing Quality Standards to the National Standards for Physical Inspections of Real Estate Inspections, which is also known as INSPIRE, for inspections for the Section 8 program. All housing authorities are required to be in compliance by October 1st, 2025. The Oxnard Housing Authority will be in compliance before October 1st. The Oxnard Housing Authority intends to engage in the following activities. These activities relate to the proposed goals and objectives in the annual PHA plan. Number 1 is the Choice Neighborhoods Grant Program. The Oxnard Housing Authority received a fiscal year 2024 Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant in the amount of $500,000. This grant will support the development of a comprehensive neighborhood transformation plan for the La Colonia and the Central Oxnard neighborhoods. And this also includes Oxnard Housing Authority-owned public housing units that require modernization. In addition, the Oxnard Housing Authority will also pursue additional project-based vouchers. The Oxnard Housing Authority has almost reached its 20% program gap for conversion of tenant-based vouchers, which are vouchers that are associated with the tenant, versus project-based vouchers. Project-based vouchers are vouchers that are tied to the unit. The goal is to continue pursuing funding opportunities that are for project-based voucher allocations, which can be included from the program cap and also can be used to assist low-income families. And lastly, the Oxnard Housing Authority will continue working on conversion and repositioning of public housing units to the Rental Assistance Demonstration, or also known as RAD program. The RAD program combines public housing operating and capital subsidy into payments under the RAD Section 8 Project-Based Voucher Housing Assistance Payment Contract. This program will allows public housing authorities to leverage public and private debt and equity in order to reinvest in public housing stock. The Board of Commissioners of the Oxnard Housing Authority approved for staff to submit a hot RAD application on December 17th of 2024. If the application is approved, the Oxnard Housing Authority will continue with the next steps in the process. The purpose of the Capital Fund Program is to maintain and preserve the integrity of the Oxnard Housing Authority's public housing units, and in addition to fund any necessary improvements. As mentioned earlier, the PHA annual plan also serves as an application for capital funds. The fiscal year 2025 capital fund budget requested is $1,057,000. Out of this amount, approximately $800,000 will be used toward capital improvements, specifically the completion of the 504 conversion project, which refers to a multi-phase project through which 18 existing units are being converted to ensure they're accessible to individuals with disability, in addition to complete some needed repairs on the alley that runs at the Colonia Project Village project. And lastly, if funding is remaining, it will be utilized towards the Althea Court project. This project suffered a loss a few years ago in which it lost 8 public housing units. Any remaining funds will be allocated towards administrative expenses. The Department of Housing and Urban Development requires housing authorities to publish their proposed 5-year PHA plan, annual agency plan, and the capital fund budget for at least 45 days for public comments. In this case, the 45-day public comment period started on November 28th, 2024. In addition, staff held public meetings on November 14th, 2024, and on January 30th, 2025. There were no objections or written comments to the proposed goals and to the proposed activities. There were a total of 11 verbal comments received, which were from participants that had questions about program-specific policies. Therefore, the recommendation is that the Board of Commissioners of the City of Oxnard Housing hold a public hearing to receive comments concerning the 5-year public housing PHA plan, the 2025 annual PHA plan, the Capital Fund 5-year action plan, and the 2025 Capital Fund budget, and to adopt a resolution, which will A, approve the 5-year public housing agency plan and the 2025 annual PHA plan for the Housing Authority of the City of Oxnard. B, authorize and direct the chairman to execute the Department of Housing and Urban Development's Public Housing Agency Certification Compliance Form, which certifies that the housing authority is in compliance with federal policies and procedures. C, authorizing the housing director to execute and submit all reports, documents, and other certifications that are required to comply with policies and procedures of the Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding the 5-year PHA plan and the 2025 annual PHA plan. D, approving the Capital Fund 5-year action plan and the 2025 Capital Fund budget. And E, authorizing the housing director to accept and expend the funds as indicated in the Capital Fund 5-year action plan and the 2025 Capital Fund budget. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.